Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 13,
text number 58.
Dahyamane Agnibirdehe Patyuhu Patni Sahotaje Bahishtita Patim Sadvi Tamagnim Anuvikshyati. So here in the Srimad Bhagavatam text, we see that there is again another prediction. It is described here that Gandhari, the wife of Dhritarashtra, after hearing that her husband will burn into the fire of mystic power, she will enter the fire with rapt attention. In the previous text yesterday, Madhupandit Prabhu was describing how this is predicted, that the whole science of Krishna consciousness is actually very systematic, very scientific in the whole approach. We see in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the Nectar of Devotion as given by Srila Prabhupada, a very systematic process by which one can take the process of devotional service right from the beginning. Rupa Goswami Prabhupada describes in one Sanskrit sloka in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu how the whole beginning is from Shraddha, Ado Shraddha. And from this faith, then Tato Sadhu Sangha. But somebody may bring up, well, there are so many other faiths. But in Krishna consciousness and Bhakti Yoga, it is not just sentimental faith. It is not just some emotional sentiment. It is backed by solid reason and logic. Just last week, 2 weeks ago, we had to go from Karnataka to Andhra Pradesh. So at the checkpoint, there was one policeman. He saw me there, and I had to deal with him for some little problem with the driver. Actually, a big problem. But the policeman started to inquire, oh, where from you are coming? You are from America? Or what are you doing? How long are you doing it? Then he stopped his question. He says, can you tell me why you like this better than Christianity? And I told him, because these Shastras that you have in this country, the Vedas and Puranas and Bhagavad Gita and all like this, and also the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is the most detailed scientific approach of any Shastras anywhere in the world. You will not find anywhere such detailed description. In 1970, when Srila Prabhupada was in Los Angeles, they came out in July with the book, The Nectar of Devotion, the translation. So when Prabhupada released this book, he said, this is the actual law book of ISKCON. This is the actual law book of ISKCON. Just last week I was with Jitarati and one devotee, Dhamma and Tattva Darshan, and we were discussing this issue. And one devotee brought, oh, in ISKCON they enacted some laws of ISKCON. And I said, well, you can't have two sets of laws. Prabhupada has already said we have the law book, which is the Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So if somebody brings another set of laws, which they claim this is the new laws of ISKCON, we have to see whether this new set of laws correspond to Prabhupada's idea of the law. Just like in the state of Karnataka, you have some laws. You cannot manufacture the law in your house and go to court to say, I have my own set of law, Your Honor. Why my law cannot be recognized here? They will laugh. We saw last week there was a lecture. Prabhupada was speaking this exact point. Because for most people, it is not so easy. Just like 2 weeks ago, we were discussing how in Kali Yuga, manda sumanda matayo, people are not very intelligent spiritually. Material intelligence and spiritual intelligence is two different things altogether. It's very different. In this age, people are not very fortunate. They're not attracted to these spiritual things. We see in the Mahabharata, it is described that the understand the tattva, dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam. Nihitam guhayam means it is hidden. To understand what is the actual secret of spiritual life, of dharma, this is not so easy. Then somebody says, if it's not so easy, what do you do? How do you understand it? How do you know? How will the common person know? Then it is explained, Mahajano yenagata sapanta. Last week I was speaking with my good friend Mahajan Prabhu, Mahajan Das. And I said, you have such a nice name. And I quoted him that verse because there's so much in that name, so much meaning. So in our Sampradaya, the ultimate Mahajan is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And after him is Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. We have this, in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada is very nicely given, Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yana Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam. The Rupa Goswami has established within this world the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that book, The Nectar of Devotion, this is the law of ISKCON. And in that book, everything is very nicely, systematically, step by step described. Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sango. You have to associate with devotees. Of course, sometimes it becomes a little source of confusion. Because we have seen practically, especially since the departure of our great Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, of course, he's still here, but the physical departure, that some persons may have the dress of Vaishnavas, the look of Vaishnavas, the attire of Vaishnava, but the behavior may not be so proper. That's why in the Shastras, it's recommended you associate with sadhus. And all the lakshana, the symptoms of sadhu is given there. One cannot be sadhu and be crazy materialistic person. That's a contradiction. Just like last week we discussed, there is a philosophy with some less intelligent persons who sometimes think themselves very intelligent, that they say sometimes acharyas become crazy, they fall down, they become... This philosophy is not based on Rupa Goswami's teaching. This is a madman philosophy. This is crazy philosophy. Rupa Goswami has never taught this. None of the acharyas have ever taught this. That's why we see Srila Prabhupada describes, right before he even begins his purport of Bhagavad Gita, a very important point in the introduction. I remember one point in Los Angeles, and we had a little meeting with devotees, because we meet with Prabhupada devotees. And we were reading this, and so many people, we were talking for an hour and a half. I will read you this point here. It's very, very important. Thank you. The Supreme Lord and His transcendental abode are both Sanatana, as are the living entities and the combined association of the Supreme Lord. And the living entities in the Sanatana abode is the perfection of human life. The Lord is very kind to the living entities because they are His sons. Lord Krishna declares in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Yonishu, Aham Bija Pradapita. I am the father of all. Of course, there are all types of living entities according to their various karmas, but here the Lord claims that He is the father of all of them. Therefore the Lord descends to reclaim all of these fallen conditioned souls, to call them back to the Sanatana eternal sky, so that the Sanatana living entities may regain their eternal Sanatana positions in eternal association with the Lord. The Lord comes Himself in different incarnation, or He sends His confidential servants as sons or His associates or acharyas to reclaim the conditioned souls. This is very significant because sometimes people become bewildered. The way Krishna came 5,000 years ago, but where is Krishna now? That's why Krishna sends His representatives, His acharyas. We see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 11th canto, in the Uddhava Gita, Lord Krishna's instructions to Uddhava, He says, Acharyam mam vijaniyan, na vamanina karichit, namartya buddhya suyeta. Namartya buddhya means you don't become envious of the acharya. Why? Sarvadeva Mayo Guru, that he is the representative, the sum total of all demigods. These powerful acharyas like Srila Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti, Narottam, these are not just ordinary persons. They're not just ordinary sadhus. They're very empowered living beings that are sent from the spiritual world to revive the transcendental movement, the Sanatana Dharma, the Vaishnava Dharma. We discussed previously in the previous conversation, the previous discussion, how even here in South India, so many of these great acharyas came. Ramanujacharya, Vedanta Deshika, Ranga Ramanuja, Madhvacharya, Vyasatirtha, Jayatirtha, so many, hundreds of these big acharyas. But what are they coming? What are they teaching? Nowhere you will find this philosophy from these acharyas, that these acharyas become ordinary person. The acharya can take an ordinary person, make him into a Vaishnava. But you will never find great acharyas becoming ordinary person. That is not possible. That is why Acharya Mam Vijanayan. Krishna says you should know the acharya to be just like myself. Of course, we don't say the acharya is Krishna. But Krishna says the acharya is very dear to him. Because he is presenting the message of Krishna as it is, without change. Without change. This is very important because we see, practically speaking, how we have seen from a historical perspective since 1977 how so many changes have been introduced. New so-called laws, new understanding. Recently I was talking to a devotee, and he was saying that some new philosophy is born, that now people should try to reach a higher understanding of what is initiation. So that devotee replied, there is no such thing as higher understanding or lower understanding. There's only one understanding. Whatever the acharya or the spiritual master is given, the order. That is our only understanding. The acharya does not invent something. He does not manufacture a new philosophy. That's why it says, Mahajano yena gatha sapanta. You follow that panta of these great acharyas. Just like we had to go to Kolur. Now, when you reach from Shimoga to Kolur, there is some forest. You go up in the mountains, and if you start taking every little side road, you may end up somewhere else. You know, even in your country, you have forest roads, small paths. If you don't stay on the proper path and you start to deviate, you may not end up in Kolur. You end up somewhere else. Similarly, in this path of bhakti, the recommendation is there. Everything is given. Ado shraddha tata sadhu sango. And then it's described that by this sadhu sangha, by the association of Vaishnavas, proper Vaishnavas, then gradually, then bhajana kriya, anartha nivriti syat, then gradually, by this process of devotional service, all these anarthas, these unwanted things will go. This is a very systematic scientific process. This is the difference between Vaishnavism and Bhakti Yoga and sentimental religion based on ritual or emotion or everything. Because it's very important to understand. In 1977 in Vrindavan, there was one very wealthy man from Madras. At the time it was called Madras, Chennai. Very, very big man. And he wanted to retire. He wanted to retire in Vrindavan. And he was a professional manager, a very wealthy man. So he came there. And every day he would come and listen to Prabhupada's classes. And he would get some time to read the books. And Prabhupada would invite him to his room, talk to him. So someday he did not come to class. So Prabhupada noticed, so he called his secretary and he said, why this gentleman does not come to class? Oh, we have him managing. He's managing now. Prabhupada says, no. That is not proper. You give him time to listen to class. He has to hear the Bhagavatam and learn the philosophy. Otherwise, like so many have come, they don't learn properly, they don't hear, and then gradually go away. So this process is very scientific, but that has to be done the proper way. Just like yesterday, Madhu Pandit Prabhu was very nicely, very logically, systematically explaining the whole relationship between the body, the mind, the intelligence, the false ego and everything, and how the soul is above. This is also given in Bhagavad Gita. Yo bodhe paratastusa. Above the intelligence, above the false ego is the soul. And that soul has to be connected. That is yoga, that link with the super soul. That is why association, this sadhu sangha is so important. We have no such thing as a Babaji class. Prabhupada often described that there's a class of Vaishnavas, the Babaji class. They want to sit down in some place and just chat and take care of their own little personal liberation. We have no such thing. Of course, if somebody wants to do that, that is not a very advanced thing, but he can do. But higher than that is the proper association. Prabhupada describes in the Bhagavatam, in the third canto of Bhagavatam, a very nice purport about this association. Prabhupada says, in Bhagavad Gita there's reference to Bodhayanta Parasparam, discussion amongst themselves. Generally, pure devotees utilize their valuable time in chanting and discussing various activities of Lord Krishna or Lord Chaitanya amongst themselves. There are innumerable books such as the Puranas, Mahabharata, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and Upanishads, which contain countless subjects for discussion among two devotees or more. Friendships should be cemented between persons with mutual interest and understanding. Such persons are said to be svajati, of the same caste. This particular Sanskrit term is actually given in the Nectar of Devotion by Rupa Goswami. This is given in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Prabhupada continues, the devotee should avoid a person whose character is not based in the standard understanding, even though he may be a Vaishnava or a devotee of Krishna. If his character is not correctly representative, then he should be avoided. One should steadily control the senses and the mind and strictly follow the rules and regulations, and he should make friendship with persons of the same standard. Unquote. Why is this so important? Because we mentioned earlier, there's different kind of understanding in the Vaishnava movement that Prabhupada started. And we have to associate with devotees who have the correct understanding, the proper understanding of following the teachings of Prabhupada, the instruction of Prabhupada, without change, without concoction, without adulteration. Just like previously in a previous discussion, we discussed how Prabhupada was giving several times the example of this sweet shop, this Rasgula shop in Calcutta, K.C. Das. And he would often compare why such high quality sweets they were making, because they never changed the recipe. You know, in Calcutta there's many sweet shops. K.C. Das is not the only sweet shop. There are many sweet shops. But that quality, that is the utmost quality. Prabhupada said Krishna consciousness like that. There is no change from the original as it is. Without concoction, without manufacturing, without changes. Because that is the message of the Acharyas. Because the tendency for people is to deviate. The conditioned soul likes to deviate. And the liberated soul likes to follow. There was one lecture one time, Prabhupada was explaining, the more rule and regulations that you put upon yourself and follow, the more advanced you become. And the less rules and regulations you follow, the more animalistic you become. Unquote. Why so many restrictions are there in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu? See, it's like in the Shastra, there's Vidhi, what you must do, and Nisheda, what you must avoid. Is described, Vidhi Nisheda Syuhu Etayor Eva Kinkaraha. Kinkara means servant. The whole purpose of all this Vidhi, this is Mana Krishna Nishevaya, that you some way or other fix the mind on Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement is not meant just to be a bookworm movement, that I will study all day and then go to sleep. No. Just like yesterday, Madhu Pandit Prabhu is describing, the process is scientific. There's the process of hearing from the Acharya, rendering some practical service, and gradually this anartha nivritti will go away. It will diminish. That is the power of the message of the Acharya, and that the power of the chanting that he is given. There's a song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur called Gurudev, Kripa Bindu Diya. Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite par, tomar sakati ache. Those of you who know Bengali, I see some of you, they're leading very nice kirtan. That is your great fortune to be born in the land of Mahaprabhu. You have this special gift to do this nice kirtan and understand. Tomar Shakati Ache, that the pure devotee, the pure Acharya, he has the power to deliver Krishna. But somebody may say, but how does he deliver Krishna? If the disciple is in New York and your guru is in Calcutta, how is he going to deliver Krishna? That's why he gave these books. That's why Madhu Pandit Prabhu used to, you have to hear. We see this Vedanta Sutra.
Sutra at the end, Anavritti Shabda, that you become liberated by the hearing, by the Shabda. Shabda Brahman. But again, just like Prabhupada was saying here, one has to associate with person. Friendship should be cemented between persons with mutual interest and understanding. Such persons are said to be svajati. Devotee should avoid a person whose Character is not based on his standard understanding. One can't develop his own understanding. One can't manufacture his own understanding. Just like you can't go today at the courthouse in Karnataka and say, I've got my own set of books, Your Honor. This is foolish. Which judge will accept this? You got your own set of books. The law is enacted by the state legislature. So one cannot concoct his own law book, his own philosophy, or his own method of worshipping. Just like we saw after 1977, when Srila Prabhupada, after Prabhupada's departure, so many persons, they manufactured so many ways of worshipping Guru Puja, so many ways of offering prasad, so many concocted things. There was one letter Prabhupada once wrote. He says, the greatest danger to our movement is when we will invent and manufacture ways to worship the deity. They started to invent all these things. And when it was pointed out to them, well, hold on. So many people, we asked them, what is this thing? What is that thing? What is this idea you have here? To take worship in front of Prabhupada, to put your picture on the altar, to declare yourself Acharya this, Acharya that. Where did these ideas come from? Oh no, Prabhupada did it, we can do. Oh, Prabhupada did it, you can do. I said, can you also sleep 2 hours at night? Silence. No answer. Can you also write purports of Bhagavatam? No. Prabhupada did so many things. We see in the Nectar of Instruction, I'm sure many of you have read this. If one imitates the Mahabhagavat, eventually he becomes degraded. Unquote. Why? Because Krishna is not pleased when you falsely or artificially try to imitate his pure devotee. That's why it says, Mahajano yena gatsasapa. You just follow the Mahajan, the great acharyas. You follow the example. There's no need to concoct a new idea, new this, manufacture that. These ideas will not help. These are just like this foolish person was telling one, our Madhu Pandit, now we have to try to have a higher understanding. Or higher understanding. What is that higher understanding? Did Prabhupada ever describe that there's a higher understanding, a lower understanding? This is all foolishness. Because they have not heard. Itishu Shrumadhiranam, we see in the Upanishad, Ishavasya Upanishad. One should hear from the Dhira. One has to hear submissively and beg for Krishna's mercy to understand. Then it will be revealed. There was one devotee named Guru Kripa. He was Swami at the time. He went to Prabhupada. He says, Prabhupada, of all the things that you have taught, what is the most important? And Prabhupada says, Yasya Devi Parabhaktir Yata Devi Tata Guru Tasyate Kachitaryartaha Prakashante Mahatmanaha. That if you have firm faith in Guru and Krishna, then everything will be revealed to you. Did anybody ever get a revelation that there's a higher understanding, a lower understanding of business? Where did that come from? Because if one does not hear submissively and has firm faith in the Acharya, he will develop some crazy idea. He will manufacture something. So many, just like some people, they have manufactured an idea. Oh, now we can re-edit Prabhupada's books and go to the manuscript and redo the books. Achha. Prabhupada gave such instruction. We wrote a letter, some devotees wrote a letter to them. They say, whether Prabhupada has given any direct verifiable evidence to go back to the manuscript and change the books. They reply, we are not aware of this. I says, whether your GBC has ever found such instruction. Nowhere we can find such instruction. Then why you are changing? If Prabhupada has not given you instruction to go change his book with some grammatical embellishment program, why change it? When Prabhupada was there, so many scholars, you read this Bhagavad Gita, there are so many scholars that have given nice reviews and appreciation of his books. Amir Vilas Maharaj knows he was there. You see? So many scholars would come. Did any one of them complain, oh no, this is not proper, no, none of them would dare do that. They all appreciate it. Prabhupada has given no such instruction that you go rewrite all the books. Of course, those who claim that they have seen the truth, they have so-called higher understanding. But we see that so-called higher understanding is not based on the law book of ISKCON. It is based on Manodharma. Manodharma in Chaitanya Charitamrita is described mental speculation. He concocts something out of the thin air. If Prabhupada wanted to teach a higher understanding of this or that, why he didn't say? You will find nowhere in Prabhupada's teachings, oh, there's a higher understanding, lower understanding of this. This is all foolishness. Of course, if one gradually progresses in devotional service, one comes to the highest understanding. That is natural. But one cannot concoct his own idea, his own foolish concoction, and say, oh, now we've got the higher understanding. You know, in 1978, some of these disciples, they came up with this idea when they issued their first report. In consultation with the higher authorities. Wacha, you have gone to consult higher authorities. Prabhupada has given you some instruction to go consult higher authorities. Any one of you, some of you have computers, you try to find an instruction that Prabhupada has ever given that now go consult with the higher authorities. No. Did Prabhupada ever identify these higher authorities? No. Prabhupada once wrote a letter in December 1973. There is no need whatsoever for outside instruction. That takes care of that nonsense. So anybody who thinks that I've got to go consult with some higher authorities, they're mistaken. Because there's motivation. Or let me go see if I can grab some other idea. There's no need of another idea. That's why that verse is so Mahajano Yenagata Sapanta. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was in Jagannath Puri, he had his secretary, Swarup Damodar. And nobody could go directly to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and say, I have a book, or I have a poem, or I've written something. They couldn't. They had to show it to Swarup Damodar first. He would inspect everything. He would approve. So one time there was a poet who came to Jagannath Puri and he wanted to show his poetry to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he showed it to Swarup Damodar. And Swarup Damodar told him, Bhagavat Paradiya Bhagavat Ye. Don't think you can understand Bhagavatam by yourself. You have to hear from the Bhagavat, pure devotee, Bhagavat Puracharya. This is the message. This is the message that is given by all these great acharyas. So here we see in this Bhagavatam, Prabhupada is given so many descriptions of how to understand the science. Every word. I was at your Mysore temple last week. Jai Chaitanya was there, and at some point we had a discussion amongst the devotees. And I cannot remember the name of the devotee, my mistake, but he was making the point that Prabhupada has given so many purports, so many explanations, and each and every word there is so much meaning. So much meaning. It is, how can these people think they can have to go somewhere else? I said, that is the problem. That is the disease. They don't think this is sufficient. So many times Prabhupada would write with questions. They would write him letters and ask him, oh Prabhupada, what does it mean? And Prabhupada repeatedly would always say, all of your questions will be answered if you read my books. But now there's a problem. There is a whole class of devotees or so-called Vaishnavas who think, oh no, I've got to change that book. I've got to make it better. This is not proper. This is not the proper way to hear. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reprimanded Vasudev Sarvabhauma, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. After he became a devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wanted to change one word. Never mind 750 verses they've changed. One word he wanted to change from the Srimad Bhagavatam. The one verse it says, Muyo Mukti Padi. And Sarvabhauma recited to Lord Chaitanya, oh, Yo Bhakti Padi. Says, no, you cannot change. Leave it. Leave it there. Because everything is explained. The acharyas have explained everything in very, very close detail. In 1977, when Prabhupada went to London in August, there were some devotees, they came to see Prabhupada, and one of Prabhupada's leading secretaries came there. And they say, oh, this devotee, he's distributing so many books. That devotee is a big book distributor. This devotee is a big preacher. He does so many books. Prabhupada, that is very nice. And he looked at everybody. Prabhupada says, so which one of you has read and studied my books? And there was dead silence. Prabhupada said, that is nice. You are giving the books, but I have not written these books simply for making money and selling. You have to read these books. You have to study these books very carefully. One time Prabhupada told us, Panditji. Panditji was the name Prabhupada gave to Pradyumna Das. Pradyumna Das is the devotee. He was Sanskrit Pandit who did all the word for word and so much work for Prabhupada's books. And one time he called him, he says, you know, sometimes to train you people is very difficult. We're trying to make you Brahmins, but I see that some of these so-called Brahmins, they don't follow, they don't wash hands properly, they don't follow, they concoct this, they concoct that. It's like trying to wash coal. Have you ever tried to wash coal? It's not going to come clean. It's always going to remain dirty. Perhaps these disciples, they should study the books, just like the lawyer, they study their law books, each for word. And that is why somebody may say, oh, but that is so much. That's why Prabhupada is given so many books. That's why this is to prevent somebody from going into one of these books and, oh, I've got something I like here, and then the other party doesn't like. Some of you who know Sanskrit is called Artha Kukuti Nyaya. Nyaya means logic, Kukuti means the chicken. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is described how Krishnadas Kaviraj, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, he had a dispute with one of his brothers. One of his brothers said, oh, I will accept Gauranga, but not Lord Nityananda. And Krishnadas Kaviraj rejected it. He says, this is the logic of Ardha Kukuti Nyaya. That logic means the farmer, he has a chicken. So he wants to keep the part of the chicken that gives the eggs, and he doesn't want it mouth, because the mouth, it costs money. You have to feed. So this is an example of the Mayavadi philosophers. They like to take one statement out of Shastra, but they neglect the other statement. So we can't study Prabhupada's teachings, Prabhupada's books, like, I like this part, I don't like that part. This part I like, that part I don't like. That is not proper way. That is not the systematic way. That's why Prabhupada gave all these books, so it can easily be understood. If something is not clear in one place, or there seems to be a contradiction, then simply one has to patiently hear. Now with these computer programs it is also easy, but you know, the Bhagavatam is meant to be studied systematically. Now we have seen so many experts, self-made pundits that have come with these computer programs. They're very expert, picking one word out of here, one word out of there, and all of a sudden they reach some so-called conclusion. Acha. We have seen some of them, oh, we are following the tradition. Oh, you're following tradition. And you ask them 3 or 4 questions and they don't know what to say. They will not know what to say. That's why Bhagavatam has to be studied systematically, each verse, each purport. And if something is not clear, there are so many other places where Prabhupada described. Just like we were reading from the introduction to Bhagavad Gita, how Krishna sends a great acharyas. We see this. I have one paper here that was actually, much of this work was done by a devotee named Jagjivan Das. And I worked with him and a few other devotees. And we started to analyze, because this tradition argument was circulating all over ISKCON many years ago. Say, oh, they were saying, we are following the tradition. We kept saying, no, you don't follow any tradition. You have deviated from every tradition Prabhupada has given you. And we systematically analyzed so many things that Prabhupada did during his manifested physical presence. And we went through, this took many months. This was not 10 minutes of work. So many months, hundreds and thousands of quotes to pull out why the Acharya does something. Because sometimes they say, oh, this Ritvik system, if you people say this would be a big deviation. No, it is not deviation. It is the order of the Acharya. This was the order that was given. And Prabhupada explains nicely. Prabhupada says, Vaishnava who is preaching, it may be in a different way, according to time, place, and the party. They have to change something, but we have to see the essence. Another place Prabhupada is describing, the Vaishnava Acharyas, just like Ramanuja Acharya, Madhvacharya, and Nimbarka, and Vishnu Swami, they're all of the same movement. Aradyo Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayo Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. This is their conclusion. There's no different conclusion. Although they have got varieties of methods, Shuddha Dvaita, Dvaita Dvaita, Vishishta Dvaita, like that, they present the same philosophy in clear way. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu presented the same philosophy in clear way. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave Achintya Beda Beda. That is Acharya. Acharya gives some way for simple understanding. The same conclusion. But according to the time, circumstances, they give a very easy method to understand. That is Acharya. Acharya is following strictly the previous Acharya. But according to the circumstances, he may make little changes. That change is not change from the original idea. No. So these foolish people who sometimes say, oh, if Prabhupada did that, that would be... No, no. Prabhupada is following strictly all the previous acharyas. That is not very difficult. This was from a lecture in 1976 in Los Angeles, in Mayapur, India. To think that the acharya can commit a mistake or deviate from tradition is foolish. You know, in Prabhupada's lifetime, there was a morning walk where some devotee came to Prabhupada. Oh, Prabhupada, we heard that one devotee is preaching that the acharya doesn't have to be a pure devotee. Before he could even finish his sentence, Prabhupada said, who is that rascal? The devotee was like, they were looking at Prabhupada. Prabhupada was upset. Who is that rascal? Somebody said, that devotee Nitai. Prabhupada had rejected him. Prabhupada said, he has become his own authority. Prabhupada, the acharya doesn't have to be a pure devotee. So whenever somebody tries to invent a philosophy that it's very common for gurus to fall down, this is not tradition, if this is all foolishness, you will not find this nonsense. We see Bhagavad Gita is dedicated to Baladevi Bhushana. In our Sampradaya, Gaudiya Sampradaya, he is the Vedanta Acharya. He wrote the commentary on Vedanta Sutra. He has also written one book called Prameya Ratnavali, in which he describes the whole Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. And he describes that our Guru Parampara, this Guru Parampara Nityam, it's eternal. And it is Vidusha and Nirabhakara. Now, where have any of our acharyas have ever taught the Guru Parampara is contaminated? What is this foolish idea? Because people don't hear. They don't hear properly. That and contamination within the heart. That is why the chanting is there. The chanting is the way to purify the mind. Sometimes people you'll see in the street, oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. You know, when we first came to India in 1970, there was one big movie maker, Devanand. And he made a very bad movie. He was comparing Hare Krishna to smoking marijuana. And in Prabhupada at one point, when they brought it up to him, he says, yeah, although it is very bad in one sense, because they're chanting the name of Krishna, even in joking, they will benefit. They would say, what? And Prabhupada was quoting a verse from the Padma Purana, Shraddhaya Elayava, in some line, that whether you chant with faith or just with joking, still the effect will be there. Just like yesterday, I was in one shop getting some water. So the man is asking me, where from you are coming? What do you do? Where do you? I said, oh, I'm helping Akshaya Patra in the ISKCON, Bangalore. He said, Akshaya Patra, yes, we have heard. This is Akshaya Patra is feeding 12 lakhs a day. And when also, at one point there was 6-7 people, half the restaurant was stopping. 12 lakhs a day. I said, yes, you come, you see. They are doing so many places. Because everybody wants to do good for others. That is the natural tendency. That's why the ultimate tenet, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement is you give him Harinam. We see there's that song of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Jeev Jago. He compares the Harinam to Aushadhi. Aushadhi means medicine. This is the medicine to cure the conditioned soul and give him prasadam. This is the great formula for the age. Because in this age you will not find who can understand this Vedanta. The Prabhupada was explaining, today we were reading from the Prabhupada Conversation book, how Prabhupada was quoting that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told that his guru told him, you're fool number one. What Vedanta you will understand. Just chant Hare Krishna. Of course, for some rare people, very educated people, but who has time? You see this Bangalore, they're building all this metro, freeway, roads, everything. I was telling some people, when I first came to Bangalore in 1972, there was only 2 million people here. Now 6.5 million, almost, and increasing every day, almost. And the roads, when you left Bangalore to go to Tirupati, you could come out of Bangalore 45 minutes, 50 minutes. Now, it will take longer. Road construction, metro construction, so much. So that is, who has time? This Vedanta is not meant for this age. Because the philosophy of Vedanta has been very nicely explained, very simply, by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and by all these great acharyas. We see in the Kali Santarana Upanishad, Iti Shodashakam Namnam Kali Kalmasha Nashanam, that this contamination, this Kali Kalmasha, the contamination of this age of Kali can be very easily counteracted. How? Shodashakam Namnam, these 16 names of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But somebody may say, well, what about your Vedanta? I had one big Pandit once say, that is nice, you chant Hare Krishna, but you have to study Vedanta. I said, no, you have not studied Vedanta properly. I could give him that verse. Iti sodashakam nam nam kalikal masanasana. Nata parataropaya sarva vedeshu drishyate. All the Vedas recommend this. This is the recommendation. Because we see practically in this age, people don't have the time, they don't have the inclination, and even some of these big so-called pundits, they don't understand very well. That is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave this recommendation. That's why the system is very powerful if there's no change in the formula. You know, we were in Vrindavan in 77. When Prabhupada came to America, they used to chant Bhaja Sri Krishna Chaitanya. If you listen to some of the first tapes from 1966, 67, it's available on the internet. They were chanting Bhaja Sri Krishna. And in 1977 in Vrindavan, there were some Sahajiyas. They were chanting Nitai Gaura Deshyam Bhaja Hari Krishna Hari Ram. They were behind the Krishna Bharata temple. And the Prabhupada, at one point, we were all in the room, he says, no, stop. From now on you say Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Because Prabhupada did not want everything to become a cheap Apasampradaya. It's like in Canada, there was one big temple that was open in Toronto, Ontario. Big, huge temple. So after they had got that place, Prabhupada called the temple president and he says, you have done very nicely. Thank you so much for getting this temple. He says, now make sure it doesn't become a Haribol Sampradaya. So this person, what is Prabhupada? What is a Haribol Sampradaya? He says, yes, sometimes in India, especially in Bengal, they have some Vaishnavas, so-called Vaishnavas, they're Sahajiyas. They're Haribo, 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 but they don't study Shastra. They don't study. So if you don't study my book, Shastra, eventually this will also become a Haribo Sampradaya. And we see the phenomena. We see the phenomena. Believe me, if you carefully study and follow some of these things that some people say in this movement, some people, they have gone the path, just like if you go from Shimoga to Kollur and you decide, oh, that looks nice, that little mountain over there, you're going to get lost. You know, they have these mountains, there's Kuduchadri and so many of these forests. You just start walking and walking, you get lost. You have to follow the road. Mahajano Yenagata Sapanta. I was talking to Jitarati Prabhu. He was telling me there's one of these so-called persons that Prabhupada warned us about. Person who was not fixed on the standard understanding. Jitarati Prabhu was having a discussion with this person. And then this person thought himself so intelligent, he started to criticize Prabhupada. He said, oh, even Prabhupada committed mistakes. And immediately Jitarati rebuked him, you're foolish. Prabhupada never committed mistake. What do you mean Prabhupada committed mistake? The Acharya is beyond mistakes, that's why he's Acharya. Brahm pramad vipralipsa karanapata. Arsha vinya dohosha nahi esab. Although even if you're not Bengali, you can understand. Dosha means fault. There's the dosha of the food, but dosha in Sanskrit means fault. Nahi dosha, those Arsha vinya, those great acharyas, like Vedavyas and the big acharyas, there's no fault. Why? Brahm pramad vipralipsa karantap. This is the Sanskrit words for the 4 defects of the conditioned souls. The tendency to commit mistakes, tendency to commit errors, the tendency to cheat, tendency to become illusion. So any fool number 1 who is going to say Prabhupada make mistakes, you can understand he's not read Prabhupada's books. Neither does he understand the philosophy, and Prabhupada is warning. What does he say here? We'll read it again. The devotee should avoid a person whose character is not fixed in the standard understanding. Well, what's the standard? The standard understanding is what Prabhupada has given. Not that somebody can invent his own philosophy. There was another one of these Pagal Baba. You know, in Vrindavan there is one fellow, he calls himself Pagal Baba. Well, he's not the only Pagal Baba. I will tell you, I have found another big Pagal Baba. There's no need to give the name, but this person writes so many books. They're distributing all over ISKCON. And one time he read, oh, I battle constantly with doubts whether Krishna Lila is mythology. Acha. You are Guru and Acharya and you have doubts whether Krishna Lila is mythology. My friend, Krishna Lila is factology. Janma karma chami divyam evam yo veti tatpataha. If you can't understand after 30 years that Krishna Lila is fact, instead you're still thinking that it might be mythology, you have not understood anything. And you are a Guru. Acha. And your books are being distributed by these other people. That is called a manufactured sampradaya. That kind of understanding will not help. That kind of understanding is foolishness. You go to Mathura, they have Krishna Janma Bhumi. Even I was just here, not too far from here, Tirupati. You have a, what is that place? The Padmavati temple. You know, in your Mahabharata, it is described that Lord Balaram, he never participated in that war. When there was the big yuddha between Duryodhana and Bhima, he was upset. So he went on a yatra. Just like some of you last year went on a yatra to Ahobilam and Jagannath Puri. So Balaram decided, I'm not going to fight. I'm going to go around to all these places. So he went to Sri Shaila, Ahobilam, and he came to this Tirupati. Actually, Tiruchanur, just a suburb there. And they have this deity of Padmavati. Lord Balaram came there, but actually that deity, they have installed a little Krishna Balaram deity besides Padmavati. And Balaram there is in meditation. Right there. So this is so significant that these places are mentioned in these literatures 5,000 years ago, and you see the actual place. So those people are not sufficiently intelligent to understand that this is fact. It is not just some foolish concoction. Prabhupada one time gave the argument. So are you thinking that these great acharyas like Madhva and Ramanuja and Vishnu Swami and Nimbarka Lord Chaitanya, they were just inventing something, some fiction? Like some novel, some fiction. These big acharyas. And one so-called acharya is writing that I battle with doubts whether Krishna is... If you have so many doubts, then go read. Go hear. Just like Madhu Pandit yesterday was saying. You have to hear. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. We see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Ramananda, Stani stitaha shrutigatan tanuvan manovi. You have to hear from the pure devotee. But if at 30 years of hearing, your conclusion that Krishna Lili might be mythology, at some point there must have been some defect in that hearing. Serious defect. And you are propagating this nonsense. And the other fool number ones are thinking, oh, this is very nice, let's distribute this. That's why Prabhupada is warning here. Your devotee in Mysore, very intelligent. He says every line in Prabhupada books has deep meaning. Deep meaning. These kind of people are not to be associated with. They may have the dress of Vaishnav. They may have the look of Vaishnav. They may have the name of Vaishnav, but somewhere right along the line, just like the person who's trying to get from Shimoga to Kollur, and he went on the mountain somewhere. Nobody can find him. Because he didn't stay on the road. If you don't stay, it's like in California, there's a big forest called the Sierra Nevada Forest, the Sequoia National Park. It's a big, huge park with big, giant trees. Some of these trees, they say, are 5,000 years old, just when Krishna was born. And every year, you're going to get some pagal, another pagal baba. He said, okay, I go in the forest, I walk here, walk there, and then he doesn't come back. 3 days, they have to send helicopter, police, fire, special rescue team. That's all over the news. Oh, man got lost in the forest. Because he didn't follow the path. Same thing, the person who thinks, oh, Krishna Lila might be mythology. Well, he didn't hear from the Mahajans. He must have heard from some Durajan. Huh? Our whole process is to become Mahatma, not Duratma. And how do you become Mahatma? Not by politics. We meant no offense towards any person who calls himself Mahatma, but Mahatma process is given in Bhagavad Gita. Mahatma nastu mam parta. Devim prakritima. You have to go shelter that Devi prakriti. At the lotus feet of the Acharya and submissively hear. And if something is not clear, hear again. Just like when Prabhupada, they came up with that book, Nectar of Devotion. Some devotees, they look, this looks complicated, Prabhupada. Yes, sometimes a little difficult. The first part of the book seems easy. But as you go towards the later chapters and the systematic description of all the stages of Bhava and Prema and everything, it's beautiful, but it's still a little technical. Prabhupada says, if there is some question, you read it again. Certain devotees of Prabhupada, even if we read it again, there may still be more questions. But you read it again and again. Then someday you'll understand. So if someone has misconception, of course, we don't condemn anyone, but we have to learn to discriminate. That's why it is so important to hear from persons and associate with persons of the same understanding. And this is just one example. There are hundreds of examples of such kinds of statements. Same thing, what we saw in 1978. So many concocted ways of doing puja, guru puja, deity worship. They were doing so many crazy things. And still cannot understand. Still cannot understand. Just like Prabhupada describes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, why we worship the Guru. Why do we worship the Acharya? This Maha Bhagavata Srishto Brahmanove Gurun Rinam Sarve Shame Velokanam Aso Pujyo Yata Harihi. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 24, text 330. This is a quotation from Padma Puran. Why? Because Mahabhagavata Sreshto. He's the topmost Mahabhagavata. Brahmanove Gurun Rinam. He's the topmost Brahmana. Aso Puju Yata. When that person is on level, then you worship as good as Hari. Because what happened, if you worship a conditioned soul as good as Hari, he will be affected. He will be affected by that. Of course, in Shastra it describes you worship any Vaishnava, this is recommended, but one should not be foolish enough to artificially think that I've become big now. The Prabhupada warns about this. If one imitates the Mahabhagavata, eventually he'll become degraded. And we have seen, this has been seen, practically. So the warning is there, the teaching is there, the instruction is there. All we have to do is submissively hear and render some nice service. It's like yesterday when I saw these 7, 8 people in the shop, I say, you come to ISKCON Bangalore. You come. You hear Bhagavata? Yes, we will come. I said, make sure you come. They say they will come, so we'll see if they do. So thank you so much for your time. Is there time for questions or a few questions? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. How does a disciple knows that he is faithful to his guru, to his spiritual master? Are there any different levels to which a disciple can remain as faithful to his guru?
I cannot seem to hear your question here. Can you repeat it very slowly and clearly?
How can a disciple knows that he is faithful to his guru, to his spiritual master?
How can you decide if one is faithful to his guru?
Are there different levels at which a disciple can remain as faithful to his guru?
If you go to, in Bangalore you have a gold market, gold and silver market on Avenue Road. How do you decide if you purchase 24 karat gold? If a lady here wants to buy gold bangle, 24 karat gold bangle, and she doesn't know how to judge whether 24 karat gold is there, how she will know whether it's 24 karat or 10 karat? Or plastic with gold paint. So how do we know this is given in Shastra? The test is given. Shastra is the test. The instruction of the Acharya is the test. Also Krishna is there within the heart. It says Guru Krishna Prasada Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. Prabhupada in one purport he explains that by the mercy of Krishna one comes in contact with a pure devotee. Because, you see, there's a big misunderstanding on this issue. Some people always talk about physical. During Prabhupada's presence, I've said before, there are many disciples that never met Prabhupada. So did they come in contact with the Guru? One has to use the intelligence to see what kind of coming in contact with. Previously in your country, in India, Guru would go to, disciple would approach the Guru sitting in some small village or place. But Prabhupada had disciples all over the world, everywhere, every country. And some of these disciples he never saw before initiation. So how did he know that they were qualified and how did they know? In the case of Prabhupada being qualified, that was easy to find because of his great spiritual Shakti. In the case of these disciples, how will Prabhupada, if Prabhupada is in Calcutta, how is he going to know if a disciple in London, England is qualified? So he had a system of representatives, senior devotees, temple presidents, sannyasis, Kirtan leaders, so many people, they would train the devotee in a systematic way. And gradually, by hearing from the pure devotee, then everything. Just like yesterday, Madhu Pandit Prabhu, before the class, Nashta Prayusha Vabadirisha. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. This is how. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. By repeatedly hearing from the Bhagavatam and rendering service to the Mahabhagavata. And Krishna is making an arrangement. Krishna is there within your heart, everyone's heart. If one is sincere, Krishna will put him in contact with living Vaishnava, living Brahmana, living devotees and get guidance and keep him in contact with the pure devotee. That is how. Yes.
My question is that, how do I know that I am faithful to my spiritual master?
If you're hungry, right, and you eat some idlis and dosha, how do you know you're satisfied? Do I need to give you a certificate? You will know. That is why the chanting is there. By chanting, the mind will become Cheto Darpana Marajanam. The mind, the intelligence, the consciousness will be purified, and one will know. He will gradually know. That is the explanation. That's what Prabhupada gave. How do we know? Prabhupada is given. Actually, we see practically that so many of you, you have not physically met Prabhupada. But you are following better in so many instances, following stricter, and doing more seva than so many people who met it personally. So it's not a material process. This is not a materialistic process. It's a very scientific process. That's why the whole process is Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Ado Shraddha. In the beginning you have a little bit of faith. And by that faith you associate with sadhus, and then gradually everything will come. That's why Prabhupada gave these books. Prabhupada did not write these books so they would become obsolete and finished when he would depart. He said one time, these books will do everything. One time devotees, they brought to Prabhupada, when, there's so many problems with some of these devotees. Because during Prabhupada's time, there was sometimes trouble. And there's some trouble with temples. Prabhupada said, the devotees may fail, the temples may fail, but my books will never fail. And you are the proof of that. Why? No. Because we see that even during Prabhupada's manifested presence, that when Prabhupada was with us, he had some personal servants. They would assist him with cooking his dal and chapatis, washing his dhoti, and bringing things. And at some point, by 1971, devotees noticed that every one of these personal servants, they fell down. They went away. They had major problems. So they came to Prabhupada. Why is it that these people, they're your personal servants, they're with you, they go away? Some of them fall down, fall in Maya. Prabhupada says, in the beginning, they did very nicely. They were very respectful to the spiritual master, and they were very nice. They listened to the spiritual master. But then gradually they start to think the spiritual master is an ordinary man like them. Then, immediately finished. Fall down. That's why I was reciting that verse. Namartya Bhudya Suyeta. Don't think he's an ordinary man. He's special. The Acharya is very special. He's very dear to Krishna. Very special. That's why it says one should never envy the Acharya. That's what that verse, Mahajano Yenagata Sampan, means. We're following the path of the Acharyas. We submissively listen to the Acharyas and render service to it. That's why Prabhupada created ISKCON. ISKCON is the practical application of Mahajano Yenagata Sapanta, some service. When you give a book to these people, a Tamil book, Telugu book, you are giving them the association, direct association of the Mahabhagavad. You give them the book, this is Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. And you'll feel, just like if you eat 2 idlis, 3 idlis, at some point he says, no, khatam ho gaya, finish, I'm satisfied. Or in Sanskrit, triptosmi, I'm satisfied. You don't need 27 idlis. You will know. And if I only give you half an idli, you say, I'll need some more. So that's why sometimes we need more chanting, more hearing, more seva to purify the mind. And you will feel the bliss is there. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Chetu Darpana Marjana. He also says, Anandam Budhivardhan. The ananda will increase. The happiness will increase. You will feel the bliss. That is how you know. And if after so much chanting, so much hearing, a person still does not know, then a person may have to trace the step back. Where did I make the mistake? One has to find out, was I hearing attentively? Was I associating properly with devotees? Am I doing the proper seva? Then this way you will know. Yes.
Since it is ISKCON, direct manifestation of Prabhupada, then now Prabhupada physically is not present. So, how Prabhupada wanted to run the society? Because we are seeing, so many deviations around the world. So you understand my essence of question.
How he wanted to run the society?
Yeah, because
in
established Prabhupada.
In 1977, at one point, we were in Prabhupada's room, and he had requested that the bell should ring exactly every hour. So the bell had not rung for 3 minutes past 4 o'clock or something like that. And Prabhupada immediately called for temple presidents. He says, why this bell has not rung? And then Prabhupada gave a whole series of warnings. He says, I am very concerned that the aims and ideals of this institution may become dismantled. I am thinking from that vision, unquote. ISKCON is one thing, but Prabhupada many times gave warnings. Gave many warnings. That if you don't follow, if you manufacture, if you concoct, if you deviate, there can be a problem. So every time, if we see there is a problem, it's because there's been concoction. Prabhupada left a perfect system for management, for deity worship, for preaching, for everything has been given perfect. Everything has been given. There's no need to reinvent anything. Everything has been given. And it's not just on guru issue, a disciple issue, initiation. It's all issues. Cooking, deity worship, everything. There's no need to invent or manufacture or concoct. The problem comes when people try to become more intelligent. That is how it should be run. The answer is simple. Follow the instruction of the Acharya. As far as the management, Prabhupada gave the direction of management. As far as preaching, he gave his books. No need to change the books. As far as deity worship, he left that very simple. Here you have very elaborate, beautiful, gorgeous worship. Very nice. But so many details Prabhupada has given that we should all try to follow. Following the principle is easy. The chanting is there. Actually, how it should be done, that is given in all of his books. And also so many practical directions in his letters, conversations. That's why Prabhupada so many times, he warned that time and time again, do not concoct, do not act, do not subtract. There is one devotee in the USA, he's an Indian devotee, Nityananda Ramdas. Every day he sends a little newsletter called Prabhupada Quote of the Day. And he analyzes some quote from Prabhupada's books, and he's given, very nice. And he puts a picture of Prabhupada. Some of you here may be receiving this. No cost, he sends this. And in the bottom of everything, he puts a little quote from a letter. If you think I'm more intelligent than my guru, I can add or subtract something, he says, then you're finished. So how to follow means simply not add anything, not subtract, to follow as it is. That is important. We saw so many times Prabhupada would warn. I was in Vrindavan one time, Prabhupada says, please do not turn my institution like the Catholic Church or the Gaudiya Math. Prabhupada knew the result of changing and deviating and adding and subtracting. He knew. So how we should follow, that is, the first thing is no concoction, no manufacture. That is the first thing. And we have also practically seen what is the result of manufacturing. Just like some so-called person who says that I battle with doubts whether Krishna is mythology, and other whimsical persons are distributing this. This is not Siddhanta. This is not Shastra. This is not Tattva. This is Manodharma, speculation. So how we should follow, Prabhupada is given nicely. Does that answer your question? Not quite?
No, because now, most of we are all neophyte, Everybody says we are following Prabhupada. So how to, resolve the issue.
One time in Hawaii, devotees, they were on the morning walk. And they asked Prabhupada, oh Prabhupada, what about those devotees who don't live in the temple and this and that? And Prabhupada stopped and looked at one of these GBCs and he said, so what is your idea? He didn't answer the question. Say, what is your idea? So sometimes we have to reflect, what is our idea? Because we know Prabhupada has given everything. Prabhupada says, I've given everything in my books. So maybe you can speak, you can give, what is your idea? I don't say I have special knowledge. As a matter of fact, every one of you know. It's not like that. There's a big secret. You know. We all know. Everybody knows. So you tell us. You're the Swamiji. You tell us.
My idea is like a direct, the Vani, Prabhupada Vani has to be implemented. Example, just like we are chanting Hare Krishna mantra, we are not chanting other mantras because this was given by Prabhupada. So similarly, I feel like, I observe everywhere. So this is only the idea, let Prabhupada, anything what we do should be black and white of the words of Prabhupada. No any other argument, no any other, that is, I feel that is, I always say that here also I say, anything wrong, sit down and speak with Prabhupada. That is my idea. Then all the, all our deviation, all our egoistic, because everybody is now independently doing. Because nobody is there to ask anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Who is going to ask you or me or anybody? how somebody has to ask, right?
That's why Prabhupada, in the beginning, when Prabhupada started the movement, he had a process called Ishtagoshti, or discussion amongst devotees. This is what I was quoting from that verse in the Bhagavatam. The reason there are deviations and things is that many times there's no proper, intelligent Vaishnava discussion. As far as how we should follow, that is there, but sometimes it requires some patience and some hearing. Because Prabhupada has also warned many times, Prabhupada one time, the greatest danger to our movement is we invent or manufacture new ways to worship deities. So, here they are doing beautiful, wonderful worship. Standard is very nice, very high. But there's always ways to improve our consciousness, our purity, our following. There's always there. And if there are suggestions, they can be brought respectfully to whoever is in charge, whoever is there. Because if devotees are sincere, one time when I first became devotee, one devotee told me, if someone criticizes you, they are your best friend. You see, Rupa Goswami says, if someone criticizes you, they are your best friend. Because the idea is, if there is criticism, it's not meant just for the sake of criticism, but for the sake of improvement. Sake of improvement. So that is the point. That is important, because like so many problems that have developed within the movement, mean there's no proper ishtagoshti, no intelligent discussion, no intelligent hearing. Or somebody, one time I tried to bring up some philosophical point to somebody, he said, we'll discuss it 6 months later at Maya. 6 months later. There's so many people have questions. Why 6 months later? Why you cannot talk now? 6 months later. Another time I tried to discuss, the samosas are cold. What do you mean the samosas are cold? Somebody has prepared a feast, we don't have time, we have to go eat samosas. Okay. Now the samosas are in the glacier. Glacier means some parts of Siberia or Canada, it's very, very frozen. Because one has to hear Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. That is how to cure the problem. Otherwise, it's so easy to deviate. That is easy. But to follow is also easy. It just means proper attention. Proper attention. So thank you so much for your time. Hare Krishna.